Cinema Worms.
Discussing everything from Grima Wormtongue to the Shy Halib.
I'm Sabib.
And I'm Linz.
And this is Cinema Worms Podcast. So I'm excited, or we're excited, at least I'm excited, to talk about the film Sorry Baby, which is the debut of the writer, director, and star, Ava Victor. I don't know if it's Eva or Ava.
Yeah, we've seen a lot of directorial debuts this year. It's been really interesting, like more so than I feel like before.
And what's really exciting about this one is how understated and indie and quiet of a story it is as a debut. Yeah. And that's lovely. I don't know how they pulled it off. So the film stars Eva Victor as the main character, Agnes, who's in her late 20s, living in New England in this house in the woods, and is a professor at a college that she did her graduate school at a few years prior. And her best friend comes to visit, Liddy, played by Naomi Ackie.
I love Naomi Ackie.
We love Naomi Ackie. Oh my gosh.
I'm so happy. This is half of the reason, or maybe more than half the reason I wanted to see this film. Is I love Naomi Ackie.
It's good to have a star there.
Yeah.
And basically the character of Liddy is coming to visit her friend Agnes after a while away. And they're having fun, reminiscing. They're clearly just the best of friends and almost have their own language. And as they're hanging out with some old grad school friends, it kind of is, and as they're talking, you realize that Agnes has undergone some sort of trauma several years prior during grad school, and this has changed her. She's been depressed for quite a while now, and maybe isn't struggling as much as she had in prior years, but her friend Liddy is worried about her. Then we go into flashbacks of grad school, their time together there as students, the very bad thing that happened, and how this has affected Agnes and gotten under her skin over these last few years, and kind of where she's landed at now. So the character of Agnes, I think, is kind of like she, they. Eva Victor is a non-binary actor who has not been in any feature films to my knowledge, had acted in Billions, and this is their first film. I think it's really, really fascinating film in a subtle way. In the beginning, on those first few scenes, I kind of was it almost feels like this casual indie thing is a little, it's almost corny or try hard, but then it actually, I felt like it really got into its rhythm. And I realized what the film was doing that was so unique is its tone and its emotional register is kind of like other indie films we've seen, but also different because it is soft and humorous and has this lived-in quality. But I think what really stuck with me was there's the melancholy and this softness of it, this soft realism that's quite disarming. And I know that sounds like any indie film, but it's just the way Eva Victor acts and presents these scenes with the simple dialogue and directness that feels so humble and not dramatized in a way that I really enjoyed by the end. And I think a touch of nostalgia was there for me for this sort of New England forested studying English vibe that I dreamt college would be like that, and I didn't really get that experience. So when I was watching it, I did have this sense of nostalgia to my own youth. But the character of Agnes she feels so nuanced and real. And in particular, I think, especially in the second half, as you get to see more of her semi-relationship with a neighbor, played by Lucas Hedges. They're basically just sleeping together.
I like Lucas Hedges also.
Yeah, Lucas Hedges is amazing, even just in this average guy, sweet guy he's playing. And seeing Agnes's vulnerability there and those intimacy scenes were really, really good. So those are my thoughts. And there's a lot of subtle queer representation in terms of non-binary characters. What are your thoughts on this film?
So I was making
You're looking up something
Yeah,
to
because
reference.
I couldn't remember, and it wasn't Am I Okay? It was because I didn't see that. It was something else that I saw that kind of made me think as you were saying this. It is that kind of indie vibe. It's something that I think I saw at the Cameo. So it must have been something
Well,
sort
you
of
could remind
indie.
me about it.
Yeah, I well, I could, but I can't remember what it was.
The plot or something.
No, I don't remember the
Yeah.
plot either. I just remember it had a slightly unusual title, and I keep thinking it's Am I Okay? But I didn't see Am I Okay? Do you know why I didn't see Am I Okay? Because it stars Dakota Johnson.
Your arch nemesis.
She doesn't know, but one day she will. So I really enjoyed Sorry Baby. I have some critique, but before I get to that, I want to say how much I love the camera work. So there was a lot of long, lingering shots.
Yes,
Oh my god,
that was part of the tone.
Beautifully done. That made me kind of think, this isn't just a film that has been made and produced, like it's written, it's made, it's produced, and someone has been like slapped a name on it and been like, let's get this out here. This is someone taking their time and caring about what's happening. Like, let us linger here, often far beyond the point of comfort and a little beyond. So we're uncomfortable with how long it's taking, and then you actually start to settle into it again. It's really interesting. There's a shot of like a really long kind of tracking shot of her getting in a car and driving that was just beautifully done. I didn't really know much about it. We'd only seen the trailer a couple of times, and I thought it was more of a comedy. So I was a little bit alarmed when there were some things happening that were not comedic, and there was a scene in the doctor's office that I thought was my least favorite scene in the whole film. I actually was pretty stressed about it. To be that the scene in the doctor's office was tonally misjudged completely in a way that I was like, I actually am worried that I'm starting to dislike this film because of this one scene.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah, I was like, oh no, there's something about this that I just don't like at all. Like, she's sort of smirking the whole time, and I just like, oh, I'm really uncomfortable with how this is being acted. But the rest of it, I really enjoyed. There's just that one scene that I thought, I hate this. I did think it was pretty funny otherwise. There was some bits with the cat that's on the poster that were absolutely adorable. I think I'm always a little worried about a film that is about basically like writers. Writers in grad school that
are they writers?
They're literature. But
they're writing theses.
They are, because they are writing things. But they're literature kids in grad school,
It's different than us.
Okay. I mean, I'm not saying it to distance it, but like, it just...
Sorry, you're doing a PhD, backtracks.
I mean, that post-grad life. But there's just something, you want to be aware of how wanky you can come off. And there's also there's also a sense of that, of this kind of the academic side of it as well. But there was something I kind of wanted to hear bits of her thesis, because I felt like she was and like the character was kind of hard to, even though we were being shown things about her and things about her past, she was kind of hard to get to know in some ways. And sort of covers herself with a bit of a shield. And of course that's an intentional portrayal of the character, but it did make her feel a little bit like she was behind glass for me. Like, I wanted to know her a bit better than that.
That's why the flashbacks are so essential, because seeing the light in her eyes before the trauma, it connects you to her way more, because you have a sense of like her personality.
But at the same time, I never felt like I got as close as I wanted to the character. So for me, this was a good film. I was really prepared for it to be like amazing, and it was just pretty good, so I was a little bit like, oh, okay, it's not quite as good as I thought, but at the same time it was very good. It's definitely something I would recommend to people, but I'm not going to be raving about it. It's probably not going to make my top 10 of the year. I think I've seen like 70 films or something like that at the moment, so I'm like, it's already a pretty competitive field, but it was a good film. I will be thinking about it again.
I would have said the same thing maybe halfway through, but honestly, by the end, I was quite disarmed by this film.
This is a good film.
Yeah. But that high bar. I like these indie films, like,
Yeah,
you
no,
know,
but like this is exactly you in a film. Like I knew you were gonna like this way more than me.
you did say that
Yeah,
beforehand.
yeah. Even before we saw it, I knew because this is the kind of indie film that you like. Something that is really poignant, that like has something going on, that has like a proper heart to it. A character who has been hurt but is kind of trying to find their way, and people being sort of like sensitive and slow and cautious about things, but they're but still tender. That is very you in a film.
Aw, thank
That is what
you.
you like, yeah.
So sweet.
Oh, babe, I know what you like.
Oh, yeah. So anyone who likes that kind of thing,
Mm-hmm.
I really recommend it, and let us know what you think.
So today I'm going to be talking about a film that I saw, and you did not. Another Simple Favor. No, I was really excited to see Another Simple Favor because I really enjoyed the original, which we have seen, I believe, together.
Yes, I think we did see it together. I was going to ask, like, wasn't it 5 or 6 years ago, though?
It has been, yeah, it has been a little bit of a while.
And it was the second time you had seen it, I think.
Yes. So the premise of the original, which was called A Simple Favor, it was a sort of black comedy, kind of mystery, directed by Paul Feig, from a screenplay by Jessica Sharzer. It was based on a 2017 novel, which I didn't know, by Darcy Bell. And it stars Anna Kendrick, Blake Lively, Henry Golding, and Andrew Rannells. And it follows this Anna Kendrick being this sort of mummy vlogger. You know, she does like these video diaries of like her baking and just doing mummy things. And when her very elegant, very mysterious new friend, who's played by Blake Lively, goes missing, she tries to solve the mystery, but then ends up kind of becoming involved with Henry Golding, who plays Blake Lively's husband. And there's just like a whole thing going on. And honestly, it's elegant, it's sexy. It's fun. It's very funny in a very dark way. There's several really dark jokes in it, but they really work. It's a film that I have continually gone back to. I've seen it several times. I really like it. Oh, unfortunately, Another Simple Favor, which I was looking forward to. I knew it was never going to match up, but it really doesn't match up. So Another Simple Favor is still directed by Paul Feig, and it was written by Jessica Sharzer and the co-writer Leta Kalogridis. And it still stars Anna Kendrick and Blake Lively and Henry Golding, Andrew Rannells, and a few other people. Some of the people, like, who are kind of side characters in this, reprise their roles, like the other mothers. But we're also joined by a few new people, including Alison Janney, who is, like, not actually chewing the scenery, and I was kind of expecting her to. She is at most gently mouthing the scenery. She's gumming the scenery. So it has received some mixed reviews from critics, and I am not super surprised. So it obviously does require a bit of a spoiler, but Stephanie Smothers, who is Kendrick's character, is now a famous true crime vlogger. She has like gone from being the mummy vlogger, she solved a mystery, so she's now an amateur detective who vlogs about true crime, and she's now written a book because, of course, and there are people at her book launch, but there's not like a huge amount of people, and that felt like kind of realistic. It is one of the only realistic things in this film, that your book launch does not have that many people. She has like an agent with her. Her agent is completely unrealistic, although her agent keeps being like, we're not going to do many more book tour of things because nobody's turning up. That is realistic. But her agent also comes with her on holiday. Unrealistic. I've never gone on holiday with my agent.
Super weird, especially when your book tour isn't doing that well.
True, but like there is a reason, because basically at this event, Blake Lively's character, Emily, turns up, and Stephanie is like, I'm sorry, how the hell are you out of prison? Because she's in prison at the end of the last film. And Emily's like, don't even worry about that. I'm marrying this really rich guy, and he's basically bailed me out and arranged everything. It's super fine.
It's giving Elizabeth Holmes, except she's still in jail.
It doesn't work for everyone, you know. This is her problem. She defrauded rich people. If she defrauded the poor, she would have been out of prison a long time ago. Social labor commentary on cinema worms here. So Stephanie is like, well, good for you, I guess. Why have you turned up? And Emily says, I'm marrying this guy, and I want you to come and be my maid of honor. And Stephanie is like, absolutely not, because I feel like you're gonna murder me. And Emily's like, if I wanted to murder you, I would have done it. Which is not as reassuring, perhaps, a statement as one could make. But anyway, Stephanie and her agent decide to go to the wedding. I guess she gets a +1 because, everybody's rich there, but I was like, why is your agent guy? Her agent is like, oh, if you get murdered, like, we'll get someone else to write a book about you, which also does ring true. It's pretty funny. She's hardly in it, but she is quite funny. She does sort of steal the show. However, when they get to Capri, which is giving very Mamma Mia vibes, Henry Golding's character, Sean, who's the ex-husband of Emily, is there, and their son is there, and there's various other characters, and you very quickly realise that this Italian guy that she's marrying is in the mob, and there's some problems going on. And Henry Golding's character, Sean, is no longer with dating Stephanie. They've kind of broken up in some sort of weird way, but it's never quite clear what. He is now just like a bitter alcoholic, which was great to see Henry Golding play, but also sort of sad. And I have to say, one of the best things about this film is Henry Golding's butt in the show. It was a real highlight of this otherwise quite low film. And basically, first things that kind of happen is Henry Golding gets murdered naked.
Oh.
Of course. While he's in the shower. Hence the butt.
Yeah.
But he was also very, very drunk at the time, so it kind of is like, well, you could probably just left this guy to his own devices and he would have accidentally killed himself anyway, but whatever. And so this kicks off a big thing because Emily is obviously pretty upset that her ex-husband is dead, and the insinuation is that Stephanie is the one who did it. And so Stephanie finds herself being framed for Sean's death, and various other things that start to happen continually point to Stephanie as being the murderer of not only Sean, but of other people on the island as well. The police are pretty concerned about it, and also not very good at, like, containing her once they have arrested her, which is pretty funny. So, it continually it's camp, it tries to be funny. It's kind of not. It tries to be sexy. It is also not. It lacks the tension of the first one. I don't know how well you remember the first one. What are your impressions of A Simple Favor?
I remember it being fun and like just an entertaining, sleek ride.
Sleek is a good word. Blake Lively looks incredible. Like, all of her outfits look amazing in the first one. This one, they're clearly trying to emulate it, but it just doesn't quite work.
Yeah. Yep. Sounds unfortunate, like a really missed opportunity, because these are both fun actresses, and apparently I remember them having kind of good, tense chemistry.
They did have, it's the sequel we didn't want or need, and it is a little bit like somebody was drunk and came up with this idea. It's makes very little sense. Everything is telegraphed so far in advance that, you might as well be, like, shouting at someone from another hill. Nothing is actually mysterious for a mystery. All of the fun things from the original are muted, so the things that you were mentioning, like the banter, the humor, the sexiness, like the actual psychodrama of it is really not there. The first one took itself quite seriously. This one doesn't. That does kind of help in some ways. It's not really trying to be anything more than it is. Lively shrugs and purrs her way through a series of frankly minute facial expressions, and Kendrick gets to do what Kendrick does best, which is be quirky and slightly edgy, but like in a non-threatening way. It is what it is. Do not expect a repeat of how glossy and sleek A Simple Favor was. But then again, maybe we would have had, I watched it by myself, if we had been watching it together with some popcorn, I think I might have had more fun.
Yeah, because we could have been making fun of it.
Yes. There's a couple of scenes where, like, people, like, leave rooms and they were the only people in the room, and then the door very clearly shuts after they've left the room, and I was kind of like, and who's shutting this door, my guy? The crew member behind just being like, okay, we'll just shut that door. And it just feels a bit all over the place. Like, sequels are made because people like IP, Hollywood likes to scrape the barrel, but it's just not always the best idea.